Welcome to the Explainer. So, let's jump right in. Have you ever thought of reading as just a leisurely hobby? Something quiet to do on a rainy Sunday afternoon? Well, today, we are going to completely shatter that idea. In this Explainer, we're looking at how the simple act of reading is actually the ultimate blueprint for shaping your personal success. We're going to explore how it's a highly practical tool for achieving incredible wealth, and honestly, perhaps even more importantly, how it equips us to survive life's absolute darkest moments.
Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, escape through the pages. 2, the Oprah effect. 3, the psychology of attraction. 4, demystifying the secret. And finally, 5, resilience through deep reading. Let's get to it.
To really anchor this abstract concept of reading as a foundation for success, we got to look at Oprah Winfrey. For her, books were a window of escape and a tool for expression. During a really harsh, difficult childhood, books weren't just paper and ink for her. They were a literal escape hatch. They expanded her imagination far beyond her narrow surroundings, and they honed her exceptional ability to express ideas and connect with other people.
Section 1. Escape through the pages. Building an empire of empathy. You see, Oprah's story perfectly illustrates how reading shapes success from the ground up. Her core philosophy isn't just about accumulating data or memorizing facts. She believes reading actively helps you understand yourself and others, which leads directly to more conscious, mature life decisions. She views it as this deep journey into the self. And honestly, that empathy and self-awareness, that became the absolute superpower behind her unique interview style and her massive global influence.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Oprah effect, transforming the publishing world.
It is wild to explore how her deeply personal reading habits scaled up into a global phenomenon. When she launched Oprah's book club, it wasn't just a simple TV segment. It became a massive economic and cultural force. A single selection could turn a completely unknown writer into an instant bestseller within hours. They literally called it the Oprah effect. By focusing on books that tackled deep human and social issues, she practically single-handedly revived the American publishing market. She restored the status of the physical paper book in an era that was becoming completely dominated by fast digital entertainment.
Okay, so we've seen the real-world biographical proof of how reading shaped one of the most successful media empires in history. But I want to pivot here and ask a really fascinating question. How exactly do books rewire our brains for success? What is actually happening psychologically and neurologically when we consume success literature?
Which brings us to Section 3, the psychology of attraction, the mind's filtering system.
We always hear buzzwords like manifestation or the law of attraction in self-help books. But let's demystify that and look at the actual science. It comes down to the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS. This is a real physical network of neurons in your brain that filters information. Every single second, you are bombarded with data, and your RAS decides what gets through based on what you consistently think about. So when you read a book about a specific goal, like wealth or success, you are actively programming your RAS. You are literally directing your brain's physical attention to notice real-world opportunities connected to that goal that you would have completely ignored otherwise.
But look, this is where we have to separate the science from the fairy dust. Academically speaking, the law of attraction is not a magic spell. Positive thinking alone? Just not going to cut it. Meaningful accomplishments require disciplined effort, patience, and practical action. Reading shapes your mindset, sure, and your RAS highlights the opportunities, but you still have to put in the persistent work to actually produce tangible outcomes.
Section 4, demystifying the secret, a century of success literature.
So, knowing the psychology now, let's trace a century of thought on personal success. Back in 1910, Wallace D. Wattles wrote The Science of Getting Rich. Fast forward to 1937, Napoleon Hill drops Think and Grow Rich, leading right up to 2006 when Rhonda Byrne releases the modern mega hit, The Secret. And what's truly amazing about this timeline, Byrne actually credited a 100-year-old copy of Wattles' book for giving her the initial glimpse into her blockbuster idea. These books build directly on one another. It proves that reading allows us to tap into this incredible, multi-generational conversation about prosperity.
Way back in 1910, Wattles argued something incredibly bold. He said, there is a science of getting rich. It is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic.
He honestly believed that by aligning our thoughts with natural laws, essentially engaging in creative visualization and avoiding purely competitive mindsets, acquiring wealth becomes a matter of mathematical certainty.
And when you actually break down the application of all these success books across the decades, despite whatever different terminology they might use, it almost always boils down to this highly actionable three-step progression. 1. Set clear objectives. 2. Maintain positive beliefs and emotionally align with your intentions. And 3. Take consistent, practical action. This is the exact blueprint that readers have been extracting from these texts for over a century to consciously shape their own success.
Now, I want to slow things down for a second and shift our focus entirely. Because, true personal success isn't just about accumulating wealth or expanding businesses or hitting career milestones. True success is also about how we navigate the absolute darkest, most painful parts of human existence. What happens when our carefully structured lives meet unimaginable tragedy?
Section 5. Resilience through deep reading, navigating the void. We're turning now to the legendary writer Joan Didion and her incredibly powerful book, The Year of Magical Thinking. It's a harrowing, deeply honest record of the year following the sudden death of her husband of 40 years, John Gregory Dunn. In her writing, Didion brilliantly contrasts our societal expectations of grief with its brutal reality. We usually expect grief to be this process of initial shock, followed by forward movement and eventual healing, right? But Didion reveals the reality. Grief is obliterative. It is physically and mentally dislocating. It is an unending absence and a relentless succession of moments where you are forced to confront the experience of meaninglessness itself.
Just listen to the raw, unvarnished truth in her words here. She writes that grief comes in waves, paroxysms, sudden apprehensions that weaken the knees and blind the eyes and obliterate the dailiness of life. By deeply analyzing and writing about her shattered reality, Didion didn't just document her pain, she survived it. Literature and deep reading provide us with the emotional vocabulary to handle the void. When we read about another person's profound grief, it builds our own vital emotional resilience for when our time inevitably comes.
So, bringing it all together for this explainer, we can clearly see the true holistic power of reading. From Oprah Winfrey escaping a harsh childhood to build a media empire, to the science of rewiring our brain's focus through the Reticular Activating System, to century-old blueprints for actionable wealth, all the way to Joan Didion forging deep emotional resilience in the face of death. Reading isn't just about passing the time. It literally constructs every single pillar of a successful, conscious, and resilient human life.
I'm going to leave you with this one final provocative thought to chew on. If the words we choose to consume literally dictate the reality we experience, the physical opportunities our brains notice, and the emotional resilience we can muster in our absolute darkest hours, what book will you let shape your reality next? Choose carefully because those pages are actively sculpting your mind. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep reading, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.